without the players, I could do nothing. But of course, from time to time, you have to help them a little bit with a few words, and that's what we do as well. So it's a big moment. I have no real words, to be honest. It's such a big moment. I'm completely overwhelmed. I never would have thought that it would feel like this.
Special introductory episode of Change of Pace Live, the podcast. Last week, we took you through the beautiful world of Junoon and Vital Signs, launching our first ever entertainment and music category. This week, we delve into the world of football. And we're going to start with the incredible story of Liverpool winning the Premiership 2019-2020 season after a 30-year wait. With us will be a guest, a lifetime Liverpool fan, and Asad Afzal. Hope you enjoy the episode, and here's how the discussion begins. It's been 30 years since Liverpool Football Club last were crowned English champions, Premiership champions, and it has finally happened. Joining us today are obviously Ahmed Hassan and Ahmed Khwaja, but a special guest who has never ever seen his club win the Premiership in his lifetime because he's not even 30 yet, is joining us. Asad Afzal, who is happens to be my brother as well. We've got two Chelsea fans, a Juventus fan, and a Liverpool fan, kicking off the first ever Change of Pace football episode, and it couldn't have come at a more insane time for football with no fans and COVID affecting the game. But again, the biggest news of all this week has been Liverpool. They've already broken the record of the fewest games required to win a title, and have also got the most ever consecutive home wins at the number of 20. In typical Change of Pace fashion, we'll start with our guest of the day. Asad, my question to you is, I've seen you miserable for decades. I've seen you cry for decades. I've seen you trophyless for longer.
Hang on. Are you two related, by the way, by any chance?
There's no nepotism here.
We might be. But my question to you is, Asad, what does it mean to the Liverpool Football Club fan base, to the ex-players, as we saw the other day on the TV, and to you on a personal level?
Well, it means everything, because as you mentioned, for 30 years being robbed and away from the Premier League title for 30 years is a very long time, and we've had a lot of success along the way with two Champions League trophies and a couple of FA Cups and other European Cups to win. But the Premier League is what every team wants to win. We came close in 13-14 in 2009. But we weren't cut out for it. And finally, Klopp has built the team, built the squad, and not just a starting 11 to do the job.
And that's the perfect thing that you mentioned about Jurgen Klopp. He has been, like we say on the show, phenomenal, not just for Liverpool Football Club, but for the Premiership as a brand. Khwaja, you don't keep your eyes solely on the Premier League. You've seen his antics at the Bundesliga. You've seen him come close to the Champions League through the Bundesliga as well. How do you sum up the character, the champion that is Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah, let's talk about his history in the Bundesliga. He won 2 titles with Borussia Dortmund. He revamped that club. Aapko yaad ho to Borussia Dortmund was at one time probably relegated, was close to being relegated way back in the day. Then he discovered stars like Lewandowski, Mario Götze, Marco Reus, Nuri Sahin. Itne sare players.
Blaszczykowski.
Ilkay Gundogan. Matlab his record of producing talented attacking midfielders and forwards is unbelievable. And of course, हमने देखा ही है उसके media में, in the press, he's a character. He enjoys himself. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And he's the kind of guy that you root for. You like him when he wins. Pep to thoda cerebral or thoda sa a-hole type.
Arrogance. Yeah.
Mourinho is, of course, the absolute arrogant prick.
No, we're not doing that. Don't do Jose like that.
भाई वो इंटर का कोच था तो आपको पता है हमारी उससे बहुत ज्यादा लगती है.
I have
But,
But
three.
you're still one of
I
the
have
greatest.
three.
Three.
exactly.
You add all
Respect.
the other ones.
Respect.
Put some
Score.
respect on my name.
Respect. Ahmed, but
एक
I'll
तो
go
ये
to you with
Chelsea
that.
वाले यार.
I'll go to you with that because Khwaja mentions Jose Mourinho, and we've never had a positive or a great relationship with Liverpool. You know, even if you took the Louis Garcia goal, notice how I didn't call it a ghost goal, but
Yep.
and you
Goal's
look
goal.
at
It's counted.
the Suarez antics, that incredible
Incident,
Alex free kick, the 4-4 game, on and on and on.
Yep.
Do you think Jurgen Klopp has actually made Liverpool a bit more digestible, a bit more likable for us Chelsea fans as well?
I think he's made them likable overall as a club. He's been blessed with a lot of players that are very likable too. You know, a lot of personalities or a lot of people who've joined the club in the past 2 years, like Mane and Salah, who are very good personalities to follow. You know,
Muslim
in the
brothers.
presence. Exactly. I mean,
Also,
for
they're
us,
humble
that's been a
for
big
what
thing. But
they've
exactly,
achieved.
they're humble. They don't have the kind of stardom or the kind of arrogance that we've seen with Ronaldo's and Messi's and other big players that have come in the past, like Zlatan. So as a team overall, they've become more attractive as individuals, but also more attractive as a team in terms of the way that they play. You know, they brought this kind of fresh style of football, very direct, very fast paced, and it's all about scoring goals. And even if they concede, which they haven't for a very long time, even if they concede, they're just the kind of goal scoring machine that we haven't seen for a very long time. And right now, again, the season's not over yet. They've won the title, but there's still 7 games to go, and they're going to be gunning for the record for most ever points too. So it's the kind of team and the kind of mentality that Jurgen Klopp's instilled into the squad that's really taken them into world beaters. And I think what really changed for them was a Champions League win last season. I think that really, instilled that belief in them that we can go all the way. Because I mean, they came close last season too. Just a
I
couple of
think
points
to
separated them and
magnify
City.
what Klopp has done, you need to understand a bit of like the recent history of Liverpool and how it's not been so great. If you think about like the whole 2000s, those 10 years, Liverpool had some really good teams in that era. But who were they up against? They were against the end of the class of '92, the Ronaldo and Rooney era, the Wenger's great
2004
Arsenal
Chelsea.
team, Mourinho's Chelsea team. So it's really hard to like compete against those teams all of a sudden. And that's why the fans stuck with Liverpool at that point. So although we weren't winning the Premier League in those 10 years, the fans were still there and they were still interested in supporting Liverpool. But by the end of the 2000s, at the end of Rafa Benitez in 2009, in came Roy Hodgson. And literally 3 or 4 months into his time at Liverpool, he said that Liverpool aren't too big for relegation, which is a huge statement to say. And starting from then, you're reaching the end of Gerrard's career. You're reaching the end of Carragher's career, Daniel Agger, who are all these beloved Liverpool players who people will support whether they do well or not. And now at the time of Roy Hodgson, those careers are coming to an end. And then in comes Brendan Rodgers, who I know is not liked by all Liverpool fans, but I think he still did a great and fantastic job with Liverpool at the state that they were. After Roy Hodgson left, Kenny Dalglish came in for I think like 4 months, and he brought in Suarez and Carroll with Torres money, and they ended up seventh or eighth in that season, which was one of the lowest. But I think we won that Carling Cup that year, and which really kept that support and that fire to support Liverpool alive.
Support. When you think of Liverpool, they're synonymous to big numbers in terms of support. They come in the names of some of the biggest clubs in the world, not just in England. But you talk about the brand diminishing with a lot of big names coming to the end of their career. A lot of what modern day successful European champion, English champion Liverpool are dependent on is Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Sadio Mane. It is arguably one of the best front threes that Liverpool has ever had. I'm sure you could even make the argument that it's one of the best threes the Premiership has ever seen.
I think yes, it's those names, but those names don't matter if there is no success. Al-Sharawi is Egyptian as well. He came up to nothing. He was at AC Milan for 2 years, 3 years. He did nothing. There was no spark, nothing. I think those names matter, yes, but what I think matters more is the internal support of that city as well. What matters is that city attached to the club. It's a huge deal. It matters. It gives everything to the club on how they play every day and how they treat each match. By the end of 13-14, once we lost that Premier League, and the next season came, there was in each game you can see that if we're drawing 1-1 or if we're one goal down, that team wasn't pushing for an equalizer. That team wasn't pushing for a winner. It didn't matter to them. It didn't matter, and the fans weren't. You couldn't see it in the fans to give them the support as well, because you could. It's a give and take. If the team doesn't give it, the fans don't give it. If the fans don't give it, the team has nothing to go off on. That's why I think what Jurgen Klopp's success is. It's very big because he came at a time when there was no Gerrard, so there was no lovable Mr. Liverpool, and there was no success. And now you need to carry this huge Liverpool team and build on from there. So I don't think any other manager could have done it. I don't think a Mourinho, no matter how much I love Mourinho, I don't think Mourinho could have done it. I don't think Wenger could have done it, or any other famous manager at this point. I think the only person that could have done it was Klopp, and he was the right man for the job because he only cares about the football. There's nothing else to it.
I mean, Liverpool went through a few managers to get to Klopp. But my question to you is now you're.
Let me make one point. देखो यार, Klopp was a winner. Simple as that. वो 2 league title जीत चुका. आप Brendan Rodgers ला रहे हो, Roy Hodgson ला रहे हो, फलाना ढमकाना ला रहे हो. ये को लोग क्या हैं? इन्होंने क्या जीता है अपनी जिंदगी में कभी?
I mean, Brendan Rodgers did really good with Swansea.
आपकी बेसिक फॉल्ट यही थी. आपके टुंडो को ले आते थे मैनेजर, फिर कहते जी हमारी टीम को जिताओ. उन्होंने क्या जीता हुआ है? Klopp is a damn winner. Simple as that. अब चेल्सी देखो, हर 3 महीने बाद मैनेजर बदलती है और वो कोई विनर ही लाते हैं. फाबियो कैपेलो लाए, कार्लो एंचेलोटी लाए, क्या नाम है इसका, एवीबी भी लाए, विलास बोस, वो भी हर चीज जीता हुआ था. एंड ऑफ कोर्स चलो लैम्पार्ड पे अब इन्होंने they took a punt and it's worked out for them. I don't think it will work next year but it depends on a lot of variant factors. But the basic point is you pick winners, you will become a winner. तो आप लोग हमेशा एक वैरायटी फॉर्मूला पे चल रहे थे. इशू ये था, you were spending money in the transfer market. You had big players, Fernando Torres, Xabi Alonso, और ये Mascherano, सारे बड़े-बड़े players थे
at that time though. But I think Brendan Rodgers was still great. No matter if he didn't win much. He came from Swansea, I think, and he had Michu that year with Wilfred Bond.
यार Swansea से आया है ना, तो फिर Swansea से
आप
किधर रख रहे हो?
Again, exactly. Talking about is how he changed the football of Liverpool. Like the way they played, everybody enjoyed the way Liverpool played those 2 seasons. No one who enjoys watching football can say that they didn't enjoy watching Liverpool.
No,
like what Suarez in third.
My point is the thing is the system or the philosophy that he had wasn't as strong as the philosophy that Jurgen Klopp brought in. Think about it in this sense.
Yes,
Brendan Rodgers' team was being carried by Luis Suarez's brilliance, right? So you're riding the back of one man scoring 35 plus goals in 27, 26 games. He's helping Sturridge become better. Gerrard's missing for most part of the season. And he's carried you to the cusp. You're about, 3-4 games away from winning that. And then, unfortunate circumstances, we won't dive into those. But the Gerrard slip, the Crystal Palace game.
We won't buy into those.
Philosophy. Yeah, but I'm saying the philosophy and the winning mentality comes in there. Look at Jurgen Klopp's history, right? We're talking about him going in and winning the Bundesliga against a giant in Bayern Munich. So he knew how to
Robin and Ribéry,
right? At a time when Bayern Munich were really, really strong. They had the money and Dortmund weren't really investing the money, but they were picking up the right kind of players. And Klopp built that system. Now come back to the last 3 years. He brings in Salah. He takes out Coutinho.
And
now you're taking away you take away one of your best players, one of your biggest players, and then go on to make 2 Champions League finals, runners up in the Premier League, and then you go on to win the Premier League. So it was about the mentality, it was about the philosophy, and I think Mourinho talks about philosophy more than anyone else because that's what really carries you over those humps. Those games where you are drawing 1-1 and it's the 90th minute, and you're looking at someone to step up. And this entire team, I've seen goals coming in from the back more than anywhere else. He's developed a defensive
Van Dijk has 4 goals this season, which is a lot for Premier League.
Exactly. You have Robertson and
let me talk about in detail about his players. Mohamed Salah जब रोमा पे था, above average player था, ठीक था. मतलब he was okay in Serie A. He had a few flashy moments, but his finishing was terrible and he wasted a lot of chances. जब Liverpool आया,
Klopp when he came to Liverpool,
हो गया. He was a Ballon d'Or player. यार उसको जीतना चाहिए था.
No one expected 40 goals a season from him.
मैंने कहा मोहम्मद सलाह, सलाउद्दीन अयूबी कौन है, क्या हो गया? Absolutely insane हो गया. He was scored 35 goals, 40 goals.
I think Klopp's biggest
और ये
trait
Gini
is building
Wijnaldum
players.
जैसे player यार, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Fabinho,
Robertson from Hull City, a relegated Hull City.
Klopp has elevated them so much. They are legitimately considered world class, which I still feel it's quite ridiculous. But यार इसने that's the sign of a world class manager कि वो average player को इतना elevate कर देता है कि Wijnaldum आपने देखा था बार्सिलोना के खिलाफ उसने क्या किया,
If you look at his
15 मिनट
signings,
में
if you
मैच
just look
बदल
at his
दिया.
signings, if you look at his signings, we got Robertson from Hull for 8 million from a relegated Hull
Fabinho.
City. You got Gini Wijnaldum from a very low point scoring Newcastle United. Then you got Van Dijk, okay, which was a big money buy, but the right buy, even though everybody was criticizing it at the time. Then you got Alisson, the goalkeeper we just beat in the semifinals. All right. Well, the Alisson buy was a lot easier after Karius made all those mistakes, but even then, Alisson.
मतलब even if you make like a world 11 in these days, कितने Liverpool player होंगे उसमें? Maybe 2.
आज की अगर बात करोगे तो मैं तो 4
11 की 11
ओ भाई
11 की 11
आगे 11 तो
मैं बताता हूं, चलो
Alisson
होगा,
start from the back.
वैन डाइक
Alisson,
होगा और
Van
सलाह
Dijk.
होगा बस.
Salah,
गया.
Mane. No,
Trent,
Mane.
अबे माने नहीं
Trent,
होता यार.
Mane, Salah.
I think Mane's got
ट्रेंट कहाँ से आ
the X
गया भाई,
factor.
क्या हो गया आपको?
Trent-
Who's better than Trent at the right back? Tell me.
ट्रेंट बुरा नहीं है वैसे.
Trent,
Who's
better
better
take
than
it
Trent at
quickly,
right back
Alexander.
in the
Maximum
world? In
form,
the world.
maximum.
ख्वाजा डैनिलो को डाल देगा right back पे.
All right, let me
Asad,
let me ask you something. I think you're almost you have the potential of scoring the most goals ever in a Premiership season this season. You're almost close to that record. 106 is the target to beat, courtesy Chelsea.
Points.
2010.
Points.
No, goals as well. 106 goals. So potentially you could beat that record. Again, Klopp, he's been incredible. We've already defined how amazing he's been for this era of Liverpool Football Club. Can you, as a Liverpool fan, help us understand and rank Sadio Mane, Firmino, and Salah for us?
भाई हमसे पूछो, उससे क्या पूछोगे? वो तो कहेगा वो पहले का बाप है वो.
नहीं, out of the three. Out of the three of them.
Out of the three.
Amongst the three.
Oh, no,
I already know what his ranking is.
Depends on the season. I don't think
this season. I want to talk about the title winning
this season alone. I would say Sadio Mane, only because Firmino was injured for a time, and so was Salah. They were both injured for I think 4
So
or 3
Sadio
years.
Mane would be first.
Sadio Mane would be first because he's come up clutch a lot of these games. So has Salah though, which is why it makes it such a tough decision. I think Mane also helps out a lot on the defensive side on the left back, helping Robertson a lot. The advantage Salah has is that he's got Trent on his side. So you have a very attacking right back playing with a very attacking right wing. It gives him a lot more goals and a lot more touches on the ball. Robertson is very good crosser of the ball, but he doesn't play a lot of 1-2s with Mane like Trent does. And that goes with Wijnaldum as well. Henderson plays a lot more 3-man football with Henderson, Trent, and Salah. If you watch the game, the ball is usually on that right-hand side with Henderson, Trent, and Salah. It's very few times that it goes to Wijnaldum, Robertson.
Give me your 1, 2, 3, Assad. Give me your 1, 2, 3.
My 1, 2, 3 is out of favoritism. It wouldn't be statistical. My favorite player out of them is Sadio Mane because I feel like he didn't get the recognition in the start, and it was really unfair because before Salah came, it was all Mane who was basically carrying Liverpool to a lot of 1-0 wins and a lot of 2-1 wins where Mane would come up clutch and score the winning goal. And a lot of defensive work.
Mane at number 1.
Mane, Salah.
Okay.
At a very close second, and then I'd say
Firmino
Bobby
तो यार ये
Firmino.
tap in merchant.
Firmino's not that big, exactly.
I think
Firmino is together.
Yeah, he brings those two together. Is he world class? I don't want to say that he is. I think Salah and Mane can compete with any two wingers in the world right now. Firmino, I would take a lot of players ahead of him. I would take Aguero.
एक मिनट इसने लिवरपूल वाली बात कर दी ना. Is Mane better than Neymar? Is Salah better than Mbappe? No, he isn't. तो फिर तुम कहाँ से तुम उनको
why
category में नहीं ला? Why
the French league doesn't even count. The French league doesn't count for anything.
वो वर्ल्ड कप single-handed वर्ल्ड कप जीता हुआ है वो बंदा यार.
Who? Mbappe has won World Cup single-handedly along with Pogba, along with.
What does Neymar have to prove? He has nothing to prove at this level.
Neymar has to prove that he has to be on a team without Messi.
World Cup
and
2014.
Basically a Ballon d'Or winning Suarez. The only reason he didn't win it that year is because he bit the Italian defender.
the way Neymar carried Brazil in World Cup 2014, यार कितने साल का था? 22 साल का था या 20 साल 21 साल का था?
They didn't win it.
Come on,
They didn't
man.
win it.
It
didn't matter.
क्या इससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? ये क्या बात कर दी?
Okay.
How many World
What
Cups
he
has
did
Egypt
back
won?
in
How many
2012
World
or
Cups has Egypt won, yaar?
2016 was it?
What?
When was it? 2000?
The
No,
Olympics?
18.
2016, right?
Olympics
No,
or the World Cup?
World Cup. 16.
14, 18.
18.
Achha, 18. So
हाँ.
in 2018,
वो injured
was
था
in
नेमार
Brazil.
यार. नहीं
Yeah,
इधर
he
रशिया
got
में
it.
थी.
No, Russia.
Russia.
I'm talking about the Brazil World Cup. There was a Brazil World Cup.
14.
That was the one before that,
Yes,
14. That's the
2014.
one where he
That's
got
the
the
one that you're talking
tailbone
about.
injury.
That he carried, right? Okay,
Hmm.
that's back in 2014. We're talking about today. In
So
2014,
today
I'd
अभी भी
still
वो
take Messi
यार
or Ronaldo over them.
वो अलग बात है but उनका भी आप level
I think
Wajah,
Frank Ribery
मुझे ये
and Ronaldo
बताओ,
over Neymar.
Asad has said Sadio Mane is the best out of the front three in Liverpool right now. Does Sadio Mane make the top 3 players in the world right now for you, Wajah?
No.
of course not यार ये कोई serious सवाल है please.
Where does
Okay,
he-
rank, take Messi and Ronaldo out and rank your top 3.
दुनिया में फिर तो मैं biased हो जाऊंगा.
Mbappe?
मैं तो अपना दिबाला
नहीं.
कहूंगा. Why not, man? Of
Why?
course.
Okay, now
Oh my
Khwaja,
God.
this is
Oh my
you're
God.
you're really stretching
Oh
this.
my God.
They're
The
genuinely
only players
better.
that I
नहीं
would
है.
put
एक मिनट
up
एक
with
मिनट
them
एक
is
मिनट.
Lewandowski.
Let him speak. Let him hear him out. Hear him out.
एक दिबाला एक top 5 striker नहीं है दुनिया में. क्या हो गया यार? Come on.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
Straight
ciao,
back.
Khwaja.
Done. Move on. Next player.
Yes.
Okay, give us Ahmed. You give us your top 3 outside of Messi and Ronaldo in the world right now.
Give your top 5. Give your top 5. Go.
Mbappe, Lewandowski, and Luka Modric. I'm not even putting
नहीं
Hazard
यार.
in the
Oh
equation
my
because he's
God.
injured. No.
See,
The man
that's
just
who
won
you
the
know it's
Ballon
not right.
d'Or.
खत्म हो गया
He
यार.
carried them to a World Cup.
We're talking about a team that went back-to-back Champions League finals, 97 points in the Premier League, and now winning the league 7 games in advance. We're talking about Sadio Mane and Salah here. This is the
Yeah, but-
problem with everybody
No,
hating
no,
on
look-
Liverpool.
Salah है.
Because
Salah
it's
है.
Liverpool, we're going to diminish their success.
ओ भाई
Okay.
बस कर दो victim
For
complex
me,
यार.
yeah, stop
That-
crying
that's
about
what
it.
it is.
Exactly.
That's what it
Everyone
is.
hates
एक मिनट.
us.
Let me speak. यार तुम किस बात का तुम्हारा victim complex है? हमने कहा था
What I'm
30
trying
साल
to say is,
incompetent
if any
हो.
other player did what
Let
they
me
have
finish
achieved,
my point.
they
Let me
would get
finish
the
my
fame
point.
for it.
असद let me finish my point. हमने कहा था तुम incompetence दिखाओ. हमने कहा था तुम retarded managers रखो. हमने कहा था तुम stupid signings करो. तुम किस बात के victim complex कर रहे हो?
मैं victim की बात नहीं कर रहा. मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ये
नहीं तो
take
तुम
it
कह रहे हो ना
objectively, past
सब
3
हमारी दुनिया
seasons,
के खिलाफ है.
objectively past 3 seasons, Messi and Ronaldo out,
every
Mane
fan
and
thinks
Salah top 5.
every fan thinks that everybody hates the club. ये तुम पे unique नहीं है. Liverpool कोई आलीशान
All right.
ऐसी
All
special
right,
बात
let's
नहीं.
talk about it
Even
objectively. Let's
Southampton
talk about it
thinks everybody
objectively.
hates
Okay,
them.
let's hear
No,
the
hold on,
objectivity.
one second. One second.
किस
One
बात
second.
का
Before you
victim
get into the
complex है
top
यार
5.
ऐसा?
Hold on. I'm saying.
I'm going to say,
Mane
let's
and
talk about
Salah-
it objectively.
No.
Okay, let
hold
Ahmed
on.
finish.
Wait,
Let
one
Ahmed
second.
finish. Let Ahmed finish.
I'm gonna shush him for a second.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna say is, Mane and Salah aren't even the top players in the Premier League when you have a guy like Kevin De Bruyne still playing.
Exactly.
The point is, you can ask anyone; they're gonna rank him above Mane and Salah. It's not because of Liverpool. Think about it this way: both of those guys have been injured, and the team's still winning because the team is greater than the individuals in this case. I'm not denying how good Salah and
Bruno was
Mane
injured
are.
all
I'm
of last
saying-
season. I'm just saying.
I'm-
Their team's
I'm-
insane.
Right? No, but they won, but they are carried by De Bruyne. It's him as the focal point in many situations.
I
He's
don't
the
He's
guy
agree
the
who's
with
best
this
making
player
because
in the
all
Premier
of
League.
last
He's
year,
the
De
best
Bruyne was
player.
injured. De Bruyne was
He's
injured
the
for
best
majority
player
of the
in the
season
Premier
last
Okay,
year.
Assad, make
They had
your
98 points.
Assad, make your objective case for Sadio Mane to be in your.
This
or
is
Salah to be in.
This is my objective for just ranking players. All right. First of all, we're not
Yeah.
going to consider any team from the French league because it's a one team league.
The
all right?
Farmers League.
And- okay,
Both of-
if they won the Champions League, that'd be a different story. But they seem to choke up every time, so we're not going to consider anybody from PSG
Okay, go
Right.
on, go on.
because if they
Mbappe
were
is
great
a
players, they'd be playing in great teams.
right, but Mbappe is a World Cup winner. You can't
He's a
discount
World
that.
Cup winner, so I can't take
यार
that away.
18 साल की उम्र में वर्ल्ड कप जीता और जी वो फ्रेंच लीग में खेलता
Exactly.
था.
यार वो जीत रहा है तो ऑलरेडी भी मतलब जीतना खाली उसने नहीं जिताया, उसमें काफी लोग
उसने नहीं जिताया है लिटरली.
He carried them.
उसने
Yeah.
एक गोल मारा आखिर में क्या हो गया.
और
Watch
अर्जेंटीना
that
की जो
Argentina match.
फाड़ के रख दी
No,
थी,
I
भूल
mean-
गए हो?
Okay,
I think we're
he did
forgetting-
great. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying that there's a lot more achievements that are going on. Which
Make your case, Assad. Make your case for.
What I'm trying to say is-
एक मिनट, वो
Yeah.
कार्लिंग कप नहीं जीता ना बेचारा, इसलिए तो हम कुछ कह नहीं सकते.
कार्लिंग कप हम भी नहीं
Cup
जीते. मैं पिछले 3 साल की बात कर रहा हूँ.
No, Assad, make your case. Make your
अगर
case
हिस्ट्री
for.
की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमारे पास 6 चैंपियंस लीग है और 19 लीग टाइटल अगर हिस्ट्री की बात हुई तो
Assad,
none of you guys are allowed to talk.
Talking like a
Assad.
true Liverpool fan.
Assad, make your case for Sadio Mane without shitting on
इसलिए
other
तुम
Yeah,
लोग
people.
को
let me
इज्जत
make my
नहीं
Without
मिलती।
shitting on
For
other
the
people.
past 3 seasons, this is why Mane and Salah objectively are top 5, disregarding Messi and Ronaldo because they're basically aliens. All right, here we go. Up against, who are they up against? They're up against De Bruyne. They're up against Lewandowski. They're up against. I was going to say Dybala, but he's not part of it at all.
अब नेमार को गिन लो भाई, या उसको भी नहीं गिनना तुमने?
Usko-
Hazard को
Yeah,
भी नहीं
I'm
गिनना
telling you, we're
तुमने?
not considering anybody from PSG unless they won the Champions League.
यार
That league
Fine,
doesn't matter.
Hazard, Modric,
Hazard
Lewandowski.
मॉड्रिच तो खत्म हो गया यार, अब तो खत्म हो गया।
and
क्या खत्म हो गया?
Mahrez as
एक
well.
season
I
हुआ अभी।
consider Mahrez as well as one of the best players.
Okay, this is why we should shut Assad off right now.
यार इसको
Like,
प्लीज डिस्कनेक्ट
At
कर
this
दो
very
यार।
moment,
महाराज क्या है
disconnect
यार?
him.
This man has
Just
won
end
the
it.
league with Leicester and City in back-to-back seasons. What else do you guys
So
want?
is Conte. Conte's won back-to-back leagues too.
एक
Okay,
मिनट, एक
now
मिनट,
there's
एक
a
मिनट, एक
difference.
मिनट।
Let me make my point. Now there's a difference between ability
Let him finish the
and
point.
what they
Let
do
him
in the
finish the
performance.
point. Let him finish the point.
लेस्टर की वजह से हम तुम्हारा टाइटल भी अब सीरियस नहीं ले सकते। तुम लोग एक दफा जीत गए, ठीक है यार।
Leicester जीत सकता
नहीं
है तो कोई
नहीं ऐसी बात नहीं है लोग We've talked about the front three. We've talked about Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, and Roberto Firmino and their impact on the international stage and the world stage, and obviously taking Liverpool to becoming a championship-winning side, both on the European and English level. But let's talk about the vacancy in leadership when Steven Gerrard stepped away from LFC. He was captain for a long time, and there was nobody that had his presence. He's one of the legends of the club. And then the captaincy is now eventually been given to Jordan Henderson, and Liverpool have won a Champions League and a Premiership under his captaincy. Assad, as a Liverpool fan and a close Liverpool watcher, how do you rate him as a captain, as a player, and the impact that he's had on the side?
I think when he first came, I think under Roy Hudson or Kenny Dalglish, he wasn't a bad player, but he wasn't a Liverpool caliber player. But the standard of the Liverpool players back then, he fit right in because he was perfectly average British player, did all the hard work and perfect passes, but nothing more, nothing flashy. Come past 13-14 and 14-15, Gerrard leaves. Henderson and James Milner are now the co-captains, basically. I don't think Henderson was given captaincy right away, but he was never playing frequently. So it was always between Henderson and James Milner. I don't think the Liverpool players and Liverpool families really gave the respect to Henderson as a captain until last year or 2 years ago, or maybe basically last year. Up until then, it was basically we don't really have a captain. We don't really have a great leader, a center around our team. Everyone's just doing their roles and it's trying to get better day by day, game by game.
Okay.
Up until last year, until we lost that Champions League final. Once we lost that Champions League final, it was basically do or die for Klopp and Liverpool. And Jordan Henderson came out of that. It was do or die because everybody was saying at that point, once we lost that Champions League final, everybody was saying Klopp and Brendan Rodgers have the same record up until this time. Everybody was saying you haven't won anything.
यार ये लिवरपूल फैंस ही रॉजर्स और क्लॉप को कंपेयर कर सकते हैं।
Building the stories.
When they lost the Champions League final, that was
okay. Tell me, Assad, about Henderson.
Came out of that.
Yeah.
Henderson came out of that, and he led a team. He basically led a team because you could see the difference between the season before and that season was they were fighting for every ball, and they were fighting to score a goal, the winner or the equalizer, and that started from Henderson. You could see it when you're watching the games. Henderson was pushing everyone to get that goal, to get everyone forward, and even if he was being subbed off or subbed on, he brought that extra energy to the team. I think that's great on its own. Nobody was doing that for the past 2 or 3 years while Gerrard was on the bench and no one was really captaining the team. I think that's when Henderson took on the role as a captain and he brought that extra energy from Klopp onto the pitch and he translated that message from Klopp really well in his work rate and his work ethic on the pitch. I think that's why he became a great captain because he wasn't always flashy, but he put in the work. He put in all the basics down to 100%.
Is he a greater captain than Steven Gerrard?
No, he's not.
ये तुम क्या अर्नब वाले सवाल कर रहे हो यार? Who the hell is
No, I gotta ask. Listen, it's very.
is Fawad Alam better than Yunus Khan? ये क्या सवाल है यार?
If Fawad Alam wins you the test mace, then he might just be. Okay? I mean,
Henderson पहली बात कैप्टन का कोई रोल नहीं होता फुटबॉल में. क्या रोल होता है?
I think
Just
there is a role, but not that big. Yeah, like in that sense. I think Gerrard had a great players around him, but not as great as
Steven
the
Gerrard
team
was a
that Henderson has.
world class player, and arguably
Exactly.
ये जो एक मैं अपना एक Pandora's box खोल देता हूँ when we talk about the great English midfielders, Frank Lampard or Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard is way ahead of him in my opinion. At his peak, in his prime, Steven Gerrard was the ultimate midfielder.
Offensively,
well, I'll give you one statistic. I'll give you one statistic to counter that, Khwaja. Frank Lampard has done more for Liverpool Football Club to win their premiership than Steven Gerrard ever did. Fact. So don't even come at me with anything about.
It's about the team. It's not about the player. We're not talking about a player. We're talking about players.
ऐसे तो फिर Hazard Leicester legend है फिर अगर उसने
he is.
I don't think he might.
Can't deny it.
No.
We've talked about
players and not teams.
Again, with a lot of respect for Stevie G and what he accomplished at Liverpool, but again, Henderson has done something that was elusive to him. Let's talk about
him and many others.
Fair enough. I admit that. Ahmed, I want to talk to you about this because 2010 Chelsea, incredible side. 2005 Chelsea, incredible side. You know, we set the points, a goal-scoring record. A golden boot was Drogba and Elka in that order. And it was amazing. That side under Ancelotti was, in my opinion, one of the greatest Chelsea sides, even better than the one in 04-05. City last year, another phenomenal side, and Man United in 08 and 99. These are mammoth level sides when you talk about premiership grades. I'm not going to mention the Invincibles because they did have a bunch of draws with them, but if you want to include them in the conversation, you can.
How can you put City? No, hold on. Sorry. No. How can you put that City side last year ahead of the Invincibles? What are you talking about?
They got more points. Simple as that. They scored more goals. They got more points.
They were getting dominated by shitty teams.
Okay.
You look at it. Forget this. A team that goes undefeated for an entire season in any conversation is in the top tier. Sorry.
Okay, we can include
the level of competition.
Again, we can lose
also the level of competition. You're up against
the primary
some
question
great
here,
players
Ahmed,
and Roy Keane and everybody.
The primary question here, Ahmed, is where do Liverpool 2019, 2020 rank in the all-time great Premiership sides?
I think your question is.
I want Emma to answer. I want Emma to answer this first.
I just wanna know what the question is.
इसके लिए तो Brazil 1970 से अच्छे हैं वो यार. इससे क्या पूछ रहे हो?
No.
Are we talking about great teams or season?
I'm talking about.
This is the point.
एक ही बात है.
Emma, go for it.
No, look,
एक बात
you can have a collective of,
season.
No, exactly. You can have a great collective. You can have a group of 11 that might be some of the best players, not win too much, whatever. Where do they rank among those teams, or where do they rank among some of the best teams? I don't know if they're in that conversation just yet. But if they do end up winning, the season with the most amount of points, record number of goals, then I think they're part of that top 5 discussion for sure. I mean, there's no arguing that, because this will be, again, statistically one of the best seasons ever. Can't deny that. But what those other teams, and I think maybe this is the bias that kicks in, and what Asad's always arguing about, it's Liverpool. But what those teams were bringing in or bringing to the table was just, I don't know, something different in terms of the competition that they were facing. Yeah. I felt like the last 2 years have just been a 2-horse race between Liverpool and Man City. And everyone else around you has sort of, dropped in level, despite the fact that there's been investments from clubs. There's been a change of managers, and some of the biggest names are now, managing in the Premier League. I just feel like the days gone, or some of the top 6 clubs that used to have back in the day were really competing for that top 6 spot.
They were always competing in Europe as well.
Right, and now you suddenly have this gulf between first, second, and then third to sixth is a shit show. You're looking at teams like Chelsea, Arsenal,
take away
Tottenham.
This season.
We're not doing much.
If you take away this season and go back to last season, even after second place, there was a huge gap between after City and Liverpool. Huge gap. If we're gonna go back to the 2000s, where Arsenal, United, and Chelsea are battling it out, basically, those teams were great. even fourth place Liverpool was winning a Champions League and Europa League titles, and they were not getting close, except in 2009, where they got close to the Premier League title. That's why I think those teams, although they have fewer points, they faced a lot of great teams. They faced a lot of great teams and a lot of great players.
So you're saying this 2020 side, this 2020 side isn't top 5 for you, all-time Premiership sides?
Again, if we're talking about seasons, I think this
stats-wise, yes, they will be.
फिर तो 99 treble ही हमेशा जीतेगा यार, कैसे फिर आप compare करोगे?
This is my point. If you look at the achievement-based ranking system, then yes, that team has to be up there because I mean,
statistically they're better.
How many teams have achieved that, right? And then you're going to argue the same thing for Liverpool. How many teams have broken that 100-point mark, that 100-goal barrier? Based on those stats alone, yes, you will put them in the conversation. But then when you go back to the eye test and you kind of go back to, the external factors that the teams were facing, you're looking at a Chelsea team that lets in, 26 goals in a season? That's unheard of, right? And you're looking at that season against some of the best offensive players of the time or emerging players or set teams. So you're going to start to counter or factor in those other things. I mean, Barca have won trebles multiple times, but not all of those trebles meant as much. Statistically, yes.
Especially this last one with Neymar and Suarez.
AZ, what's your verdict on this? Where do you think this Liverpool side rank?
यार अब मैं I'm just trying to refresh my mind कि कौन-कौन सी teams. एक तो 99 वाली United थी, एक वो Tevez और Ronaldo वाली United थी.
05 Chelsea, 2010 Chelsea.
यार तुम फिर Chelsea को ले आए.
दो बार मतलब तुमने 2 बार Chelsea
Arsenal
दिया. हद होती है.
Arsenal की Invincibles का ये था कि उनका पूरा 11 ही amazing था. आप United वाले Tevez Ronaldo वाले देख तो midfield खास नहीं थी. Liverpool की भी central midfield इतनी खास नहीं है इस दफा. But जो आर्सेनल की टीम थी, वियरा था, क्या नाम है इसका, सोल कैम्बल था,
थियरी ऑनरी,
वो तो यार बहुत स्टैक टीम थी यार. और 11 ऑफ कोर्स आर्सन वेंगर, द प्रोफेसर ऑफ फुटबॉल, जो इनविंसिबल्स वाली, हालांकि वी ऑलरेडी स्मैश दैट रिकॉर्ड बाय द वे. यूवे ने भी वो रिकॉर्ड तोड़ा हुआ है, हम भी इनविंसिबल्स मार चुके हैं. बट इनकी एक बनी हुई है बात, तो फिर बंदा क्या बोला. आई स्टिल फील द आर्सेनल इनविंसिबल्स, दैट वाज ट्रूली समथिंग quite remarkable. That era was quite competitive,
especially in the time that they did it in.
Exactly.
Frankly, I'm not too pleased with the lack of respect the 2010 Chelsea team isn't getting on the show right now. But we'll move on from there.
But I'm very glad that nobody takes into consideration of that last United victory, that 20th league title with Van Persie, because that was a real shit season.
That was a horrible season. Yeah, it was one of the worst teams probably to win the Premier League. I mean, we're not even talking about City
that 12th man that they had with Howard Webb won them at least 4 or 5 games. I'm not even kidding.
And then he went on to retire.
That just shows the folly of Liverpool's ways when they're hiring these clowns like Roy Hodgson and Brendan Rodgers. यार वो Alex Ferguson के सिर्फ फोर्स ऑफ पर्सनालिटी से वो वैन पर्सी और 10 टुंडों के साथ टाइटल जीत के, तो
जीसम पार्क को उसने जो है वो प्रीमियर लीग विनर बना दिया जेरार्ड से पहले.
सीरियसली यार, बंदा क्या बोले फिर.
But that was a good team. There was a lot of good players on that team though.
अभी तुमने सारे रिवर्स कर दिया वैन पर्सी की बातें करके.
No, I'm just saying those players were good, but they want you to Howard Webb.
Look, my point right now is we've established that Liverpool right now are a great team. Okay, we know what the Premier League looks like right now. The question is who can dethrone them? Exactly. Can they continue this for another season, or is there someone on the horizon now that can, potentially actually take them down? Chelsea? I'm not hinting at Chelsea. I'm saying Chelsea is building a strong side, but then you still have
not in the conversation.
You still have
they're in the conversation.
City. No, they are. Look. I'm not gonna take that away. You still have Pep's Man City. You have a project now at United. Again, of course, nowhere near completion or anything, but it's a project. Mourinho's still at Tottenham, and Mourinho is Mourinho. Arsenal are trying something with Arteta. So there are a lot of factors that are building in. But are they good enough? Again, listen. Are they good enough? The question is, are any of them good enough next season to dethrone Liverpool if Liverpool stay together?
I think just City and United.
मैं एक बात कह रहा हूँ, आप एक टीम भूल रहे हो. अगले साल Newcastle backed with Saudi money. They're gonna buy Pogba. They're gonna buy Mbappe. They're gonna buy Jadon Sancho. Allegri ला रहे हैं कोच, और वो सारे आ रहे हैं. बेल आ रहे हैं.
Allegri आ रहे हैं.
Allegri भी आ रहा है.
वो तो बैठा हुआ साइड पे.
यार बगैर यार पैसा आता है. मैन सिटी में भी पैसा आया था, चेल्सी में भी पैसा आया था.
पैसा आया, बिलियनर तुम्हारा होना है.
All right, guys,
billionaire owner है.
I wanna
Red Sox
wanna-
का owner.
I wanna dwindle
time
down.
लगा
And
यार,
LeBron James.
एक मिनट
कितना टाइम लगा है उसको build करने में?
hang on मुसाद, ये लोग तो ऐसे कह रहे हैं जैसे इन्होंने पता नहीं क्या कोई क्राउड फंड करके पेट्रियन से इन्होंने अपनी टीम बनाई है भाई.
बच्चों के साथ
हमारा भी
जीती
तो मल्टी बिलियनर ओनर, सॉरी एक्सक्यूज मी, आपका भी तो वो है फॉक्स, क्या ग्रुप है वो, हेनरी क्या नाम है उसका, द ओनर ऑफ द रेड सॉक्स. तो आप लोग
Owner of the
Yeah,
Red,
the Red
Sox.
Sox group.
Yeah. All right. Let me. It's been a pretty
Aisa.
sensationalist episode in terms of our first ever football discussion. Assad, it's been great having you on board. We usually end the episode with a final question to all of our panelists. My question for all of you today, and we'll start with Khwaja, we'll move on to Assad and then Ahmed, is who is going to win the Premiership next season for you?
मुझे तो I think they'll repeat Liverpool because they've got the 11 in place, they've got the guy in place, they've got the squad in place, and I don't think Pep, I think this is his last year. आप बोल रहे हो Champions League ban भी उनका चल रहा है, तो वो शायद छोड़ दे. And
Right.
Man United are still rebuilding. शायद Chelsea कोई एक कारनामा कर ले, second, third आ
Right.
जाए. Arsenal are nowhere to be seen. I think they'll repeat.
So Liverpool for you, and who's going to win the FA Cup this year?
FA Cup
This
FA
year.
Cup कौन आप लोगों और कौन है?
Arsenal,
These guys?
Chelsea, City, United.
या मुझे क्यों लग रहा है आर्सेनल फिर कोई तुक्का मार जाएंगे एफए कप में. उनका
Against
यही
City.
काम है.
No, they haven't been able to do anything in the past 3 days.
That's fine.
Ah.
Khwaja, you're going with Liverpool for Premiership next season and Arsenal this season for the FA Cup. यार हमारे आर्सेनल का कुछ ना कुछ बोलना पड़ेगा. हमारे सारे आर्सेनल के फैंस change of
Arsenal are
percent
probably
change of
the
pace to
worst
followers.
team. I can't even talk about Arsenal. I can't even talk about it because they're
Okay.
not
वो
part
तो
of any
बेचारे
discussion.
बैंटर
meme.
क्लब है, क्या कर सकते
They're a
हैं.
meme.
हाँ
You,
exactly.
All right,
you can't talk about them if they're not part of anything.
Final closing remarks of the show from you. Who's going to win the Premiership next season and who is going to win the FA Cup this season?
All right, I think Liverpool is going to win the Premiership next season. Although I don't think they're going to do it in the fashion that they did it this year.
Although it doesn't
One,
matter.
because City are back in form again, as you can see for the past 3 or 4 games. Although Chelsea did beat them, they were playing really good football because in the middle of the season, around December, they weren't playing such fluent football like they're used to. Also,
Okay.
Liverpool's squad is fairly young. Mohamed Salah, 27. Van Dijk, 28. Is pretty young for a defender. Sadio Mane,
Prime में है
27.
सब.
You got Trent, I think 22, 21. Robbo, like 24. The squad's really young. The fire is still there. Jurgen Klopp is still there. There's no reason. Although, as you saw at the January and February time, after 20 straight wins, or not 22 straight wins, 22 straight undefeated. I don't know
Make
how
up
many
your
games is
mind.
it undefeated. 22
20.
games
It's
undefeated.
20.
I think.
It's most consecutive home wins at 20. So Assad, it's Liverpool
Oh.
for you. Liverpool for you at the Premiership next season. Who's
FA
going to win
Cup
the
कौन जीत रहा है?
FA Cup this year?
FA Cup doesn't matter.
No, don't give me that, Assad. You gotta,
Pick a
you
name.
gotta answer the
याद
question.
करो वो दिन जब तुम
Ans-
तरस रहे थे एफए कप जीत के.
Carling Cup जीत के ये करते थे.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
I'm gonna go with City because City are by far the greatest team out of
सिटी ले
those 3.
जाएंगे हरामजादे.
All right,
By far.
close it out.
They played their
Close
bench
it
and
out
beat
for us.
everybody.
Look, next season it's hard to look past Liverpool if they keep the band together the way they've been playing this year. I don't see Chelsea and City challenging them to the throne. There needs to be some sort of a huge uplift in the way that Chelsea are playing with the new signings that are coming in next season, and City are going to need again some magic injections and then some injection of money to really get things going again. 'Cause they have some
Financial fair
faults.
play money.
Yeah, their defense and stuff is an issue, and we talked about Pep and all those issues. So I'm gonna go with Liverpool for next season. I hope it's not the case because once you win it, repeating it is definitely harder, and we have seen not many teams have done it in the Premier League in the past. There's a few names up there, but it's not
City.
something that's easily come by. Exactly. So you really need to prove yourself. United, Chelsea, all these teams have done it, but you're really joining an elite group if you do it. So like Asad said, the fire's still there. They're young players. If, the giants of the world like Madrid and Barcelona don't come knocking for some of these superstars, then it should be Liverpool. As for the FA Cup this season, again, I can't look past Chelsea because we've had a good run of games recently. We're facing
Yeah, that's
United. I
true.
know we've lost to them in every game this season, but I feel like a knockout game is just one of those environments that we
यार,
thrive in,
United
and
से
we've
हार
had
जाते
great
तुम लोग
performances.
यार.
No, but
in the past, so-
United have very good quality on their team. people keep forgetting that. Yes, they
कौन सी
don't
quality?
they don't
कौन सी?
perform well.
It's Pogba,
Not
Fernandez, and a
Pogba.
pile of shit.
They got Fernandez. De Gea is playing
And-
shit these days, but he's good. They have their
Rashford is
defenders,
hit
they're
or
British
miss.
defenders.
Martial is hit or miss. No, De Gea is shat the bed. Their defense
All right.
is shambles. Again, I'm telling you, from as a Chelsea fan who's lost to United all season, this is the one game that I'm confident about. From City, Arsenal, it's going to be City, and then we've beaten
2-0
City
United.
just recently, so it's going to have to be one of those tight games. But Chelsea takes it.
वैसे हम सब प्रेडिक्ट करें लिवरपूल जीत रहा है लीग अगले साल, लेकिन देख लेना ये कोई अपने आप को एल मरवा देंगे, ये देख लेना.
Anyways, we will have a show next year, same time, to ask all of you this question again.
Next year, wow.
If you've made
Not
it this
same
far,
time. Hopefully
you-
not the same time. Not in July.
Hopefully earlier. But if you've made it this far in the episode, make sure that you tune in for our episode releasing next week. We'll be talking to a very special correspondent from the BBC about the upcoming West Indies versus England Test Series. Cricket is finally going back. I will leave you with my two predictions. Next year, Premier League winners 2021 are going to be Chelsea Football Club. And this year, FA Cup winners is going to be Chelsea Football Club. You heard it here first, folks. You can save it as a soundboard if you want to. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Change of Pace 414, Instagram Change of Pace Live, YouTube Change of Pace Live. Apna khayal rakhein, ghar pe rahein, and we will catch you next week for a cricket recap. Goodbye.